In the world of swimming, underwater dolphin leg kick is considered by many as the fifth stroke. In freestyle, backstroke and butterfly races, you can do 15 meters underwater off every single ball using dolphin leg kick. It can often be where races are won and lost. Gretchen Walsh is one of the best swimmers in the world at this, and in this video we're going to take a look at how you can use her technique to improve what you're doing in the swimming pool. Okay, for this latest installment of Technical Tuesday from Propulsion Swimming, we are going to be helping you guys improve your underwater dolphin kick by looking at, right now, the best underwater swimmer on the planet, Gretchen Walsh. She's the 100 meters butterfly world record holder, an Olympic medalist, and over the shorter distant pools of yards and short course meters, she's an absolute phenomenon where she can make full use of the 15 meters underwater rule off every single start and turn. And today we're going to be taking you through the 5 criteria that we always do in these videos, from body position, leg kick, arm pull, breathing, that's slightly a fun one for an underwater video, and timing, and essentially, like always, helping you guys improve your own technique by looking at the world's best. We're going to start with her body position, and we're going to break it into 2 separate areas. The second being body undulation and how everything ties together in one motion. But first of all, we're going to talk about her position in the water. And that position in the water is flat. And what I mean by flat isn't that she's constantly still in the water and staying in this perfectly straight position, because that would counteract what the body undulation needs to happen. What I'm talking about is she is naturally making her way to the surface in this underwater journey that she's taking to 50 meters. She's making full use of the 50 meter mark. She's not aiming herself at the pool floor to make sure she can go deeper and get to that distance. At the same time, when she's getting towards the 15 meter mark, she's not aiming sharply upwards to kill her momentum and make sure she can get up for that breakout stroke, that air. There is a natural, it's almost a straight line, which is what I mean by flat in the water, from point A to point B, where she's trying to get there as fast as possible. If she has this big arc in the water, in her underwater journey, that's going to be slower than going in a straight line. And paying attention to this underwater journey that you guys are going to be doing for your underwater kick is really going to stand you out away from others who are literally just practicing the dolphin kick motion. Okay, so the next area of her body position that we're going to be talking about is the undulations through the water or under the water that are happening. Now we're going to be talking separately about her kick and what goes on there, how that ties together with this undulation, and her arms later on in this video. But essentially everything about this movement is working in tandem to make sure she is progressing through the water as fast as possible. Her hands do start a little bit of the motion, but in reality, from her hands to her shoulders, it's not still, but it's still. The movement is happening in her core, the range of motion from her back and her hips. And while she's got a powerful downbeat that we'll talk about in her legs, the movement and all of the power does come from that middle area of her body. And yeah, if I show this footage back through, you can see that a great deal of her mobility is in her lower back, and actually this range of movement helps for the power and the strength that she then transfers to her legs, propelling herself through the water. Okay, so if we now move on to the next portion of this, which is her leg kick, and it ties together with that body undulation, with that range of movement in her lower back that we've already talked about. What I would say is her downbeat in this is incredibly powerful. But if I drew a straight line from her hands to her shoulders, let's say, and say this is your neutral position through the water, at no point in her downbeat is she over kicking and going beyond this neutral position, which essentially means she's streamlined through the water, even with this massive range of movement and undulation that is happening from her hips downwards. She is not going out of a streamlined position, really, and this line on the screen actually helps prove that. Okay, so then if we look at the individual elements of this kick, there's quite a lot of knee bend. I think we did this on our last video with Pan. The professional swimmers bend their knees a lot more than you think, and bending your knees can create a lot of power if you've got that strength. Here on this freeze frame, it's about 45 degrees again, like we saw in our last video. That's a lot more than you'd expect, but she's not afraid of doing that, and this is the fastest underwater swimmer in the world right now. Give it a go. Then moving down to her ankles, there is a massive amount of flexibility here. If you look just as she's starting her downbeat, her toes are so pointed. Because of this flexibility and range of movement in her ankles, they're almost catching up the whole time to her lower leg until she's finished that downbeat motion. So that wave of a dolphin leg kick creates, it doesn't stop at the knees, it stops at essentially the toes. That's the end of your wave that you want to be creating, which you guys can essentially try by making sure you've got relaxed and loose ankles. I think that's the best way to make sure you've got flexibility and the full range of movement in your stroke. Okay, so the next point about her leg kick is, I guess, the amount of it that's going on underwater and the speed of it. So yes, this footage has been slowed down for the majority of this video, and I understand I've got the one shot, but this is the best shot that is out there that we can work with. But at US trials, she does 11 kicks underwater, which is a relatively high count, and that won't be by accident. She will know the best rate for her, and it's something that will be practiced day in, day out, and something that you guys really should be doing in your own training. I can't tell you that 11 kicks is what you need to be doing to be the fastest off every single wall. You're going to want to practice to find out what is the right size kick for you to make sure you're the most efficient through the water, what's the right tempo, and what's the right count. I can't tell you singularly from this video. It's something that you're going to have to practice and find out yourself. Okay, so moving from one end of her body to essentially the front of this underwater dolphin leg kick. And I know I said to start with that it's locked still, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on how she's traveling through the water, how fast she's going through the water. And the first thing to note is she's streamlined, obviously, but her streamlined position is textbook, one that you should copy when you're at the pool. Hands locked one over the top of each other, and she's squeezing around her ears. I know it's really quite easy to get your streamlined position behind your head because that is the most comfortable position. But as you can see here, her head is facing the bottom of the pool and her essentially upper arms wrapped tightly around her ears. That position, non-negotiable in underwater dolphin leg kick. And then, like I said earlier on in this video, the undulation, yes, it does happen. Don't be afraid if you do move your arms a little bit through the water, but not to the point that you're essentially affecting that neutral position right at the top of your body position that we've talked about earlier. Make sure it isn't taking you out of the streamlined position, and in reality making sure you're not wasting energy at something that's not really propelling you through the water. Movement at the top end of your stroke here in your arms is just going to waste what you can do further down your body. Okay, so next up on this stroke analysis of Gretchen Walsh, breathing. Underwater dolphin leg kick, don't breathe. Simple. Moving on? No. There are little areas that we can focus on here of how she is exhaling under the water. So again, I think this is going to be more down to personal preference, and there's two different ways that you can go about essentially exhaling on your underwater journey to 15 meters. The first is trickle breathing, which is where from where you're pushing off, you slowly breathe out as you make your way to 15 meters. I tend to do it so I don't get water up my nose. Simple as that. And the other option is essentially a massive exhale just before you're breaking the surface. What Gretchen Walsh does here, if we take a look at her footage, is a mixture of the two. She is trickle breathing from what I can see. I guess we're a little far away. I can't literally see her mouth and her nose here. She's trickle breathing from about 3 meters out from the 50 meter mark as she knows she's getting close to the surface. And then there is a bigger explosive exhale just as she's breaking the surface. And you can see if I follow on the footage, she does breathe on her first stroke. So even world record holders do it, guys. Maybe a point she could have improved on the future, but she doesn't need to take advice from me. And for the final section of this technical analysis, as always, we're going to end with timing, which, if you've watched any of our other videos, is usually covered as we talk about all the other sections, but just to tie this all together, the timing of your underwater dolphin leg kick is probably best described, like I said earlier, as a wave motion. Yes, you're not having that wave at the top of your body because we're trying to stay as still as possible, but if your hands are slightly up, then your chest is down. If your chest is up, then your hands are down. And then maybe more dramatically and more importantly and more obviously, if you watch Gretchen here, if your hips are high, your feet are low. If your hips are low, your feet are high. And that's where the bend happens. I mean, it's really quite simple, and it's something that's quite natural. It should happen as you're just attempting this undulation motion in the water. But yeah, the best way to think about timing for this is to think of yourself as that wave through the water and think about the points that we've already spoken about in this video, where you need to have your knee bend, where you need to have flexible ankles, where you need to have a strong range of motion in your lower back and hips. That's really going to give yourself that perfect timing to your kick as you go through the water. That is a quick look at in our opinion, the best underwater swimmer in the world right now, especially now Maggie McNeil has retired. Gretchen Walsh is a phenomenon underwater. She's not the fastest off the blocks, but once she is in the water, once she is under competing these underwater dolphin leg kicks, there's no one in the world that's going to get close to her, in our opinion. Have a look back through the pointers that we made in this video. Take them away to your next training session, the next time you're in the pool. Give them a go. Make sure your body undulation is starting from your core and the hips. Make sure you've got that range of motion in your flexible ankles and your hips, like I've said before. Keep that streamlined position locked around your ears, and let us know how you get on. So that just about rounds up this Technical Tuesday video from Propulsion Swimming, having a look at the best swimmers in the world. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you've done so to the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel so you stay up to date when next week's installment of Technical Tuesday comes out, along with a few other videos that we've got in the pipeline. Share this with your friends and family, give it a like, and most importantly, go practice these tips at your next training session. But until then, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Bring it.